Okay. Can you hear me? Yep. Hello and welcome to this Node Talk. My name is Jonathan Andrews and I'm one of the sales managers here at Avinode. I look after France, Switzerland, Italy, Spain, Portugal and South Africa. And I'll be talking to you today about APIs and how they fit into making things more efficient in the business aviation industry. This presentation will be available on YouTube later, so please feel free to share with your colleagues. And remember to follow us on Instagram to keep up to date with everything happening in the Avinode world. So we'll get straight into it. So today's talk, I'm going to be talking firstly about what is an API. You have all probably heard the term before, and some of you understand how they work, but I'm going to give a little bit of a refresher so you can understand what an API is and what it can do and what it can achieve. What effects APIs have had in general in almost all industries around the world. Also, I will then talk about what we are currently what APIs in business aviation currently, and what APIs can achieve for you from an Avinode standpoint. So, first of all, what is an API? I think the easiest way to describe an API is to think of it as a way of sharing. Two software programs with potentially very different purposes can work together to empower each other. I think a very good example of APIs is Expedia and the variety of API integrations. If you have a small hotel and a very simple booking tool that you have been managing your bookings with, you will hardly have the time or the resources to develop and to build your own Expedia. Instead, Expedia offers an API integration that will advertise your hotel availability all over the world to its millions of users. At the same time, through APIs, as soon as someone books your hotel, Expedia software will inform your software of a booking, remove that room's availability, and provide you with the information about that booking. All done almost instantly through a shared integration of an API. You are working together and sharing to improve both of your businesses. Another Expedia example is, I think that we've all been there. You go and you make a search for a trip that you want to do, you put your itinerary in, and while you're there, you're waiting. And all of a sudden, results start to feed through, and you start to see some of the prices. And all of a sudden, you have all of the options of all the different airlines. The way that this is achieved is that there's an API integration with Expedia individually with each of these companies. And as they come through, you see those results. That's a great example of an API integration working, and many API integrations. So we all know the distinction between traditional company versus tech company is gone, with almost all industries having to successfully apply technology. While this has been a change for many, it certainly doesn't have to be done alone. There is help available, and to make sure the transition is as successful as possible. APIs are driving disruption everywhere for many reasons, but here are three of the main reasons for this. So the first one, you no longer have to build everything yourself. Skills like vendor selection and integration expertise become important, but allow you to deliver new capability faster. Small companies can do as much as large company as fast in a focused area. You no longer have to build everything yourself. By understanding the options available and the integrations that can be created, you can achieve so many things you didn't think were possible. And the third thing is that API's connectivity drives the elimination of data and services. Having the ability to use others' stores of information, you can take the information you need exactly at the moment that you need it. So as part of the Avinode vision, we want to try to create a seamlessly connected industry. The only way this is possible is by utilizing APIs for and with our members. The possibilities are almost limitless with these integrations, and like so many other industries that have already made this move, I think that the business aviation industry is next. So APIs, we all know now what an API is. We'll now look at how APIs can assist in business aviation. When it comes to business aviation and technology, we see that it's an industry that doesn't often embrace technology advancements as quickly as other industries. We, however, see that very much changing. So this is the amount of members that had some kind of API integration with Avinode. Out of a total of 1,685 member companies worldwide, just under a third of all companies have some kind of API integration to Avinode. This resulted in 2018 to over 3.5 million webhooks per month. To put into perspective, the webhook number was 0 in April 2015. For those of you who don't know what a webhook is, it is a form of API. It provides one system with information when it happens. Instead of one system asking another for information, it is given without being asked to that system. So a great example is that you can have with Avinode an empty leg API that as soon as an operator posts an empty leg through their profile, then through a webhook you can be informed of that empty leg. And then you can use that empty leg information to be able to market and to sell to your end clients. Okay, so here we see the number of searches made through Avinode, with which tool was used to make the search. These numbers are on average per month. So as you can see in the way of searches, it was through API that most searches were made, over 170,000 of them. When we look at operator quotes being sent, it was over 124,000 per month. We are really starting to see a trend up in APIs as being used as the way forward to both deal with buying and selling charter within Avinode. So I'm going to give an example basically of how a broker journey in charter. So from when the request comes through to actually the booking the flight. So first of all, the client is going to call the broker. They're going to say to the broker, I want to go to this destination on this date on this type of jet. So that's the first step. Second step is the broker inputs those details into whatever CRM they're using. They can have an advanced CRM, they could have a whiteboard, an Excel spreadsheet, whatever system they're using, they need to record that information somewhere. They then log into Avinode, put those details of what the client wants into Avinode, and then waits for the search to come back. And then the broker would send requests to the operator, wait for the operator to respond, and then eventually the broker would receive confirmed pricing. So as you can see, this is there's a lot of steps in the process. The broker would then input the details that they got back from the operator into whatever CRM they're using or whatever system they use to record and the details of the trip. The broker would then generate a quote. That could be through a system that they already have. That could be an email. It could be WhatsApp. It could be whatever system that they're using. Broker sends those range of the offers to the client once they've been made. The client makes the selection, calls the broker and says, yes, this is the selection I'd like to go ahead with. So as you can see, this cycle it's a very, very long cycle just to get to the point that the client has options. Then the broker journey to charter is completed by the broker calling the operator that begins the booking and contracting journey. So what I want to do now, though, is I want to have a look at what the possibilities are with APIs in this process and how it can reduce workload considerably. So first of all, we now have search APIs. So the first one is that the client calls the broker. So now instead of the client calling the broker, through an application that the broker can develop in an API with Avinode, they can now search the aircraft that are available and find what are the best options for their trip. And then second, broker inputs into CRM. This hurdle can be overcome with a client lead API. So with that API that was created, the search and the search results, that can then be put into a CRM that the broker has created. So all of the details of what the end client searched is now in their system. Third, through a search API, the request can be sent to the operator. So then we have an auto request send API. This means that based on the selections that they saw in the first step, the auto request send API would send those requests to the operators automatically. This means we're still at this stage, the broker hasn't actually had any contact with the end client, and they haven't had to do anything at this point. And then fifth, we have an operator response webhook. So as the operator responds to the request that automatically got sent through an API, those responses are then fed back into the system that they've created. And then through the same operator response webhook, that information would be put back into the CRM. And then through APIs and webhooks set up with broker's application, all of these details can then be presented to the end client for the end client to look at what options are available. And then also through this, so they've then selected, and then through the webhooks and brokers, the end client has selected, gone through all of these same steps, and still at this point, the broker has had to do nothing. This has all been done through Avinode, through APIs, through integrations. Right? Then they get told, so now the broker can come back into it, contact the operator the end client has selected, and do the contracting, booking steps. So it's a much easier process, right? So, in closing, I'll be giving some advice and takeaways around APIs. This applies both if and when you want to consume Avinode APIs, but also open your mind to other services that may assist your company moving forward. So, gone are the days of API connections being an IT tech issue to a company deciding if these kinds of integrations are only for tech companies. It is now very much a win or lose as a business issue. As the industry takes hold of technology being a standard operating procedure, those who don't grasp this reality are at risk of being left behind. So get good at consuming, understand what you want to achieve, and understand what is available to you. Understand what other service providers may be able to do for you to make more integrated in as many facets of your business as possible. Hiccups, you will be relying on third parties for potentially important parts of your business. Talk about things like redundancies and outages early. Track issues, periodically review your partners. And ruthless, be ruthless in understanding what you can warrant doing yourself and where it makes more sense to have partners. So, leadership needs to set direction. Sales needs to know about this. Marketing needs to know about this. If you're an executive who gets notified that tech rolled an API out, then you're doing it wrong. APIs will force you to engage with new audiences as a company, namely the developers implementing your APIs. They are important. They have a strong voice in most organizations and what API to use. Treat them as first-class citizens in all the interactions with you are positive. You want them to pick you for your API next project as well. So that is my presentation on APIs. I'm obviously here for the next 2 days. If anyone has any particular questions about what APIs Avinode can offer and how it can help your business, please, by all means, come and find me. Thank you.